Hello, my loves. This is Johanna Burkhardt. I am a multidimensional channel, teacher, healer, and author. And I am obsessed with all things metaphysical, esoteric, galactic, and of course, the healing journey. And I'm here to share my stories, my wisdom, and my teachings about being human in the illusion that we call reality. Welcome to Cosmic Blonde. Welcome to Mother Truckin', Texas, y'all. Do I have some stories to tell you? Welcome to season 2 of Cosmic Blonde. I am so happy to be back. I have so many stories to share. We're going to have some epic guests on this season. But we're going to start with this transition from nomad life to stability. And some of you already know, some of you may not. I had a desired list of things that I wanted to manifest in 2024 that I wanted to call in and sustain. And I called them all in by June. And that is, it's an amazing feeling. And it's because of me finally putting all of these little pieces, all these things that I had been doing for years and teaching for years, putting them all together and truly committing and showing up and doing the work every single day using my 40-day technique, which I've talked about in my book and I've talked about on this podcast. I've talked about it a million places. I'll probably write a book one day called 40 Days. But I put the techniques together and I did it a combination of two different things this year. And it just worked. And it worked ridiculously fast. And honestly, I think if I can share one tidbit of that on this, it's the commitment. It's the decision. It's the internal commitment and decision inside of myself that I made that this is it. I'm done. This is what's going to happen. And I don't really care what tries to stop me because it's going to happen. And it just did. And we always think of manifestation as a feminine principle, and there is a feminine energy to it, right? We need to be open to receive. But it is a balance because you have to have the masculine, and the masculine is a combination of that internal decision and commitment and solidarity that this is what is going to happen and this is what I'm just going to do this. I don't care what stops me. I don't care what tries to derail me. You can throw the kitchen sink and everything in it at me and I'm still going to stay committed. And it's the inspired action. Those are the parts of the masculine that I think a lot of people forget about when it comes to becoming the change that you want to see. You never attract what you want. You attract who you are, whether that's a relationship or an income goal or a business or a home or a car. You're going to attract what and who and where you are, not what you desire. And I had to make those changes inside of me for this to happen. And I did. But what happens after you do that? Because I had a lesson in expectations after going through this. I don't know if it was subconscious. No, actually, I do know it was subconscious. But I felt like, oh my God, I hit everything. It's going to be bliss for a little while. I'm going to just be floating down the river for a little while. I'm just going to enjoy this. No, ma'am. No, ma'am, that is not what happened. Not in the slightest. Because when you decide, and I have talked about this before, when you decide you're going to be someone else, and when you finally step into that energy, you do break the energy of the old, right? So imagine yourself in, oh my gosh, they're showing me like those Russian dolls, right? So imagine that you're a set of Russian dolls. And as you shed those old versions, right? Instead of you pulling the Russian doll off and accessing the new one, what if it just cracked and broke into a million pieces and revealed this new version of you? Or maybe it cracked and started breaking off piece by piece as almost like a chick coming out of an egg. This is the visual that I'm receiving right now as I'm talking about this. That's what happens. That's what happens. And so as I stepped into this version of me, everything started to break. My favorite over-the-ear headphones broke. My headphones that I had gotten for Christmas broke. My laptop broke. And this is a MacBook Pro. It's not like it's an easy replacement. my tablet broke, my phone broke. Like everything that was expensive in my life, everything that was very much entangled in the old version of me, everything broke. Now, both of those headphones were bought by my ex-husband. That laptop was bought the old version of me, right? It was a refurbished uh, a laptop, MacBook Pro I bought off eBay. So there was all of these things that I had. My phone was still on my ex-husband's phone plan and was something that he paid for. So all of that had to go. All of that was attached to a version of me that no longer existed. And I firmly believe that the energy of the things that are no longer serving you, they have to go. So whatever's not serving you, whether it's relationships, whether it's items, they have to go. And they did. Not only that, but I went through this huge frequency up level and I wasn't sleeping. I didn't sleep for a whole week before I left to go on my trip. And then I wasn't sleeping during my trip, which was hard for me because when I am in nomad life, like when I'm traveling in my car, I generally will sleep in my car. I will sleep at truck stops. And sometimes I got hotels or stayed at friends that were on the way. But I actually got very comfortable sleeping in my car at truck stops. I felt very safe. My car was a safe space for me. And this trip, I could not sleep in my car because, well, it was over 100 degrees everywhere and I would have died. So the first night I stopped in Arizona at a friend's house and we went out that night. She showed me around. Um, I couldn't sleep that night. I got a hotel for 2 nights after that, could not sleep well. In fact, I even got sick. And before I left, I had a heads up from my guides that I would have like I would have allergies come on, which I haven't had allergies since 2013. And so I was like, what? So I prepared. I have a natural supplement that I take for allergies. I started taking those the week before I left and all the way through the trip, and I still was miserable. I had congestion, I had the sinus headache, I was sneezing, I had all the things related to like getting hay fever and just allergies. It was miserable. And I just had things that weren't going right. So we get here, right? We all move in on July 1st. We spend the day moving everything in. It's ridiculously hot. They had movers. I just had what was in my car. And so I'm helping them unpack things, trying to get settled in. And the transformer blows and we lose power. Now, mind you, this is a new housing complex. And so this is a development that's being built. So there's still construction going on. And there's two empty lots to our, depending on where, onto the side of the house, right? There's two empty lots. And so with those empty lots, I never would have thought that we would have an issue. We were the only house that lost power, but we lost power. And this was at 6 o'clock at night. It was still in the mid 90s at 6 o'clock at night, if not almost 100. And we called the power company and they said, hey, like, we can't get out there until about 8 o'clock. Okay, that's fine. It's only a couple of hours. Mind you, they have two twins that are under the age of 2. And all our bedrooms are upstairs. And so they go ahead and lay the babies down, thinking in a couple hours the air conditioning is going to come on. 8 o'clock, 8:30 rolls around, nothing. Call the power company again. Now they're saying they won't be out until 11:30. At this point, one of my roommates is getting really angry, really hot. And I noticed, I'm going to pause and say something here. I noticed that normally when I'm around somebody who's angry, I notice when somebody is, getting a little explosive, that it will have a disruption on my nervous system. And it's gotten better over the years as I have worked to clear my own rage and my own anger issues and to heal the trauma of being around explosive, angry people. And I noticed that while I felt his anger, it did not affect my nervous system. I was not I had no I did not go into fight or flight. I did not go into freeze or fawn. I was like, whoa, he's angry. And I just walked away from the situation. I just let him go through his process. And I noticed throughout this journey, throughout the move, throughout all the issues, throughout the not sleeping, throughout all of these things, that my nervous system really was not affected by it. I really was able to detach and just go with the flow and be like, well, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. Right. So here I'm thinking I'm passing these universal tests. And I see that because that's the best way we can understand it, but it's really not a test. When you break the energy, right? When that Russian doll that surrounds you of who you used to be begins to crack and break, the energy needs a place to go. It gets a little chaotic and it's used to a pattern, right? The pattern is still there. So the old ways, the old things that used to happen, the old things that used to trigger you, all these old situations, they're still going to keep coming around because the pattern is still there. Now it gets a little bit more chaotic though, and it comes up more explosive, more random, those types of things, because you've broken the energy. And it's giving you the opportunity to prove and do what you say you now are and be. And this is why I call it a test. It's not really that nobody's actually testing you ever. There is no actual pass or fail. It's always a pattern showing up until you continuously choose differently. And if you really have learned, and if you really have changed your mindset, and if you really have worked on your nervous system, when these things happen, you will feel a difference in your nervous system and you will choose differently. You will be more observant. You will take your time to make a decision or to respond instead of react. You won't fly off the handle. You won't be reactionary. You won't be as triggered. And so it's not a test, but of course we feel like it's a test, so we call it that. But there never is a pass or fail. You're either going to learn from it or you're going to be like, wow, I really have healed and shifted and changed. And I really have stepped into this new version of me because it didn't even affect me. And I just naturally was calm and responded and chose differently. I didn't choose the same way. I didn't respond the same way. I didn't act the same way. I did it differently, right? If you don't change, nothing changes. And so that was a beautiful thing for me to witness. And I'm thinking, great, like I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. I was really tired that week. I had a lot going on. Had to buy furniture. I had to, you know, try to just get everything settled, everything set up. 4th of July comes around. I didn't even really want to hang out on 4th of July. I went out for a little bit with family, of those that I have, my roommates, and I came home early. I was at home at 8 o'clock in bed. I was tired. I did not care about no fireworks. I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to eat a bunch of crap. I wanted to lay in my bed and rest. And that's what I did. And then the hurricane came in. So we had Hurricane Beryl. And let me just tell you, I knew probably 2 weeks beforehand that we were going to have a hurricane, that I was going to be affected by a hurricane. At that time, Beryl wasn't really on my radar. And then after it moved over the Caribbean, they said it was going to hit Mexico, or yeah, they said it was going to hit Mexico. And I'm like, it's not going to hit Mexico. And it did hit a part of Mexico, but I said, this hurricane's coming for Houston. It's going to hit Texas. And guess what? It direct hit. The eye literally went over my house. Um, and I have been through a ridiculous amount of hurricanes living in North Carolina, and I knew what to do to prepare. And I have forgiven myself for not preparing in the way that I knew to prepare. Not that it would have made a whole lot of difference, honestly, anyway, because I'd only been here, less than a week when actually exactly 1 week. Sunday is when the hurricane hit. And so the hurricane came over. Now it was a weak category 1. And I never thought in a million years that we would be without power for a week. And as I record this, we are 7 days after the hurricane, and there are still people in Houston without power. Isn't that insane? For a week, category one. It did have an impressive wind field for a week, category one, but I'm really disappointed in the infrastructure, the power infrastructure in Houston. There's no excuse for it. No excuse whatsoever. So our power went out Monday morning and it did not come back on until Friday morning. You want to talk about a test? That's a test. And all this time, y'all, the energy was so freaking crazy. The energy of July is always intense. It's the cosmic new year. It's the galactic new year. July is the birth of the zodiac. It is always an intense month. This year, it is a whole nother level of intensity. So we've been dealing with that on top of all of this, right? There were 2 nights that were almost unbearable, where I woke up one of them almost in a full panic attack, not being able to breathe, feeling like I'm being suffocated by the heat because there's no airflow. I'm upstairs. The wind does not blow towards my windows. It blows this way where there is no windows. So we had all the windows open just to hope that at night it would cool down a little bit. And it was just you were just sweating in your bed to the point to where I would get up in the middle of the night and get in a cold bath because we did have water. Some people lost water. We had water. And so I would turn on a cold bath and fill up the bathtub and just sit in it for like 20 minutes with a washcloth on my chest and just laying in the water to drop my body temperature. And then I would wrap myself in a towel and then just lay the towel on my bed and still be wet and just lay there. And it would help me to fall asleep a little bit. And I'd put the cold washcloth, I would leave the washcloth on my body and hoping that any airflow that came in would hit that and just kind of help cool me off. And then I would wake up sweating and have to get up and go back and get into a cool tub. So there was 2 nights, one in particular. It was, I think our power came back Friday morning. Wednesday night was the night that was the worst. That was the night that I woke up and I couldn't breathe. I thought I was having a panic attack. And I didn't freak out. Like I can tell you this, there's only one day that I got a little pissy and I was a little aggravated and all three adults because there's 3 adults that live in this house, we were together all day pushing each other's buttons and we got a little testy. And when I felt myself, my nervous system activating, I excused myself and I went for a drive. And then I came home and I went to my room and I just was with myself because I was not going to react. I wasn't going to get into it. I wasn't going to do that. I knew that we were all struggling. And so it's important for me to recognize in myself how well I did for not having power, not having regular food, not having internet. I had clients that week. I had a whole laundry list of things to do. I couldn't do any of them. So my 1 week off became 2 weeks off. And that second week off, none of them were actually like we did anything fun. It wasn't like I was relaxing and enjoying myself. I was miserable, miserable. But even when I had the panic attack, where it wasn't really a panic attack, it was just I couldn't breathe and I felt my body starting to go into survival mode because I was struggling to breathe. Instead of freaking out and making it worse and fighting the panic attack and the fact that I couldn't breathe, I got up. I was like, nope, this is what's happening. Let's just go drop our body temperature. And I did. And Thursday night was a hard night too. Friday morning, I woke up and I was not in a good place Friday morning. And I came downstairs and my roommate's like, hey, my mother-in-law has power. Do you want to go with me over there in the air conditioning and we can work? And I said, no, I don't. I need to be alone. I got a lot of emotions coming up. It was an intense, energetic day. And I knew there was going to be a lot of heavy emotions coming up. Anytime I get within days of my birthday, I'm very emotional. Anyway, my birthday has always been not a great day for me. And I just said, no, I'm going to go upstairs and sweat and put together my dresser that came. And I just be in my feels, just sit in my discomfort, sit in the sweat and put together something as if the air conditioner was on. I'm going to act like and do the things that I need to do as if it was cool in this house and there was no other issues. And I was about a quarter of the way of putting that thing together. And I heard a click. And I turned my head and my alarm clock was blinking. And I heard the air kick on. And I was like, oh my God. And I just started bawling. Like I get emotional just talking about it. Like I was in tears of relief and joy. And I ran around the upstairs and I shut all the windows and I texted my roommate and I said, hey, because he was downstairs in the bathroom. I said, hey, I'd shut all the windows. And he said, is there a storm coming? I said, no, the power's on. And he's like, fuck yeah. And everything shifted and it felt so good. It felt so good. And it took a couple of days um, for everything to shift. And even Saturday. So Saturday was the Saturday after the power came back on, the 13th was my birthday. And I decided last minute to live my childhood dream and go see New Kids on the Block and Paula Abdul in concert. And we went. And when, first of all, if you've never seen them and you are an 80, if you were born in the 70s and grew up with the era of New Kids on the Block and Paula Abdul and all of that, that is a great show. Two, they are so fan oriented and they brought people on stage. They went out and danced with people on stage, danced with people in the crowd. They let people in the crowd sing, like hold a microphone and sing part of the songs, like super fan oriented. But they said about 100 times during that show, um, just reaffirming what we had been through as Houstonians. I'm going to get this right. And how courageous we were and how they know that some of us still didn't have power and how much we suffered and struggled. And they just wanted to make us happy. They just wanted to put on a good show. They just wanted to make the crowd happy. And they succeeded. They succeeded. It was a great show. And then Sunday, I was taken to brunch. And so I kind of started to feel like a human again. And I was like, oh, like things are moving, right? So I got through it and I got through it without destroying my nervous system, without being reactionary, without losing my shit. Was it something I agreed with or wanted to happen? No, but I accepted it and I made the best of it. And that's all you can do. And for the next storm, we will be prepared. We had only been here a week, so we didn't get a generator. We didn't get all the things that we needed to prepare for storms. Because from what I've been told, it's not about really the hurricanes. Houston gets a lot of thunderstorms and power goes out apparently a lot with those storms. And so while Texas generally does not get a lot of hurricanes, not like Florida, not like the East Coast, they still get bad storms that knock out power. So having a generator is just a requirement. So we'll be prepared and much better off. But man, hard lessons. And I thought I would be triggered a lot over not being able to work and having to reschedule people. And there were people that had been on my cancellation list because they really wanted to get in, they really wanted to be seen, and having to reschedule people is never something that I like to do. It's never something, it's something that I rarely do, but obviously people were very kind and gracious. And, I just felt really backlogged, but I was like, I know that everything happens for a reason. I have been so exhausted with everything that's gone on with this move and leading up to it. And when you let go of a version of you, that's another thing. And I do talk about this some, but when you let go of another version of you, guess what? You will go through a period of exhaustion because it's a mass letting go. It's like a huge cellular release, and that can make you feel like you've been hit by a truck. And so sometimes it's only a day, sometimes it's a whole week. And I definitely was feeling it for more than a week. And so not having any choice but to rest or to, drive around in the car and in the air conditioning and just do nothing because you have no internet, you barely had cell service. It was like my universe forced my hand and was like, we knew you weren't going to rest. So it was chaotic and crazy, and things have started to settle. But it was a crazy journey. It was definitely a crazy journey, but I'm stable, right? All the things that I wanted to manifest in 2024, I wanted to have a certain number of clients. I've succeeded that already by June. I exceeded the number of clients that I wanted to get. I hit not one income goal, but two. I went down 2 pant sizes. All of the things. The last one was stability. It was renting a place. And this is the perfect transition because I don't necessarily want to live where we are, but I'm signed a year lease. I'm renting with friends. That's like family. And then a year from now, I'm going to have a better idea of where I want to live, and then I can get my own place. And so this is a great stepping stone. And this is everything that I wanted. And again, it all happened by June. It's just insane to me that when you finally decide you're done with who you used to be, when you finally decide you're done with the old programs, when you're like, no, fuck, no, I'm not doing this shit anymore. This is who I'm going to be, and this is what I'm going to have. And you know what's funny is you don't even need the things that you want anymore. When you become the version of you that has all of the things, even though you don't have all of the things, you don't need all of the things, but then you get all of the things. So again, when you become the version of you that you think you would be if you had the things without having the things, then that you will get the things. Because it's about it's always about how it will feel. You think if you make a certain amount of money, you're going to feel a certain way. If you get the relationship, you're going to feel a certain way. If you get the success, you're going to feel a certain way. I started feeling those certain ways before those things were in my life. And that's the key. You have to become that in which you seek. And I'm living proof that it freaking works. And this isn't a shortcut. This is not a magic pill. It took dedicated, committed work while the kitchen sink and everything in it was thrown at me over the last 6 months, because it wasn't just this move. And I've talked about it when I rewired my brain in January. I've talked about all the different things that have happened, the ego deaths that come with it. This is not an easy thing, and this is why people just don't do it. But this was also why I decided to lead the Recalibration Experience. And while I will continue to run that 40-day immersion program, intensive, because if you have a support group, if you have others doing it with you, if you have the carrot dangled in front of you to make the commitment, and you're not doing it alone, it makes it so much easier. I did mine alone, but that's kind of my jam. And now I can lead others through it so they're not alone, because I know exactly what's going to happen to them. I know exactly what's going to be thrown at them. And when you become the change, you can then be the guiding light and the example for those around you, whether you're intentionally teaching something like I am or not. We are humans and we are sentient beings, and we learn through observation and emulation. So all you ever have to do is be the change. I'm so excited for season 2. I'm so glad to be back. And I will see you in the next episode. Hey, thanks for listening. This episode was brought to you by JohannaBurkhardt.com, where it's time to defy the limits of your mind and step into your multidimensional mastery. Don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. See you next time.